All right, guys. Well, as Julia said, thank you very much. Welcome. Thank you for your time tonight. We're here talking about the automation testing of your Oracle Xstore point of sale. Something that's traditionally been quite difficult to do, but now also with the added benefit of the seamless integration, excuse me, with the PayTest robot for your card payment testing. So full end-to-end testing with your software, your hardware, and your pin pad terminals. Okay. So I'm James Reedhead from OLR. So I'm an automation lead here. My colleague is Mark Sweetlove. Unfortunately, he can't make it today. Mark, as the product officer, is really chiefly responsible for deciding what and when we build within our testing automation frameworks. Things that either we need as OLR testers on behalf of our customers for the work that we're doing, or either things that our customers can use if they're making use of our framework. Okay, so designing, maintaining, improving the automation framework itself. My role then, excuse me, is to ensure that those standards, those new features, those new advancements in automation technology are then rolled out to the OLR testing consultants and used on our customer deliveries. And we're here in a proud partnership tonight with our friends at PaytesLab. So I'll hand over to David to give an introduction.
Thanks, James. My name is David. I'm the head of sales at PaytesLab, part of the management team. We are a US company, headquartered in Switzerland, and production is in Slovenia, but a little bit more about that afterwards. I'm overlooking the global sales activities, and it's a pleasure to be here, James, with you and your team, and that we could make that happen. So very excited to show the solution to everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, David. So moving on, it's a relatively short session tonight, just 30 minutes, but we're just going to talk through some key topics that really introduce this concept to you if it's not something you're aware of. So we're going to talk about the OLR retail testing as a service offerings. Okay, so what is testing as a service and what can OLR retail bring to the table on your behalf for your deliveries and implementations? Of course, we're focusing particularly on Xstore tonight. We do offer services for other facets as well. So whether that's e-commerce, integrations, merchandising, for example, very much in the Oracle space, but outside of Oracle as well. So we'll look at a demo tonight, a live demo. So it should run nicely, play well. But we're going to look at the automation of a end-to-end test on a point of sale, an Oracle Xstore point-of-sale till, fully integrated live with the T1 PayTest robot from the guys at PaytesLabs. And then, of course, automation testing is wonderful, but we need to expose the output and the results of that testing to the wider delivery team. So here at OLR Retail, we are very focused on bringing an agile approach to all things testing, and that has to include the publicizing of those test results as near to real time as possible. We believe wholeheartedly that the most important job of testers is to provide that fastest level of feedback on any delivery project when there's been a new build of code to an environment, for example. We'll wrap up just considering some of the benefits if you decide that you are interested in adopting this kind of approach for your end-to-end Xstore and your payment testing. And then we'll open it up to the floor at the end for questions and answers. And Julia's going to step in and keep an eye on your questions and moderate that for us at the end. So let's move through. So I'll just give a brief introduction to OLR Retail. So if you're not familiar with OLR Retail in terms of who we are and what we do, so we are an expert Oracle Retail system integrator, 25 plus years in the business supporting Oracle Retail applications. Testing as a service is a relatively new offering, but it's something we're bringing to the market now off the back of the quality delivery and implementations that have been happening throughout that period. Ultimately, this is about speeding up testing of something that's traditionally quite difficult to test or quite tedious, quite time consuming. And by doing that, of course, we look at cost optimization, reducing that time to delivery for those production deployments. Okay, and of course OLR has a very referenceable and a solid track record of doing this, particularly in that Oracle retail space. David, do you want to tell us a bit about PaytesLabs?
Yeah, sure. So PaytesLab is a joint venture between Abrantix and B2 Payment Solution. Both have been in the industry for over 20 years. And Abrantix developed the robots because they wanted to test their own payment terminal applications, and nothing was on the market which was standardized. And 2 years ago, we decided then to focus with PaytesLab really on payment testing. So now we offer terminal and hardware agnostic test solutions and also software agnostic solutions where you can put your payment terminal, your cash register on, and then implement end-to-end testing processes. So that's what we're going to show you tonight. And James, that's enough for me for this.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So there you go, a bit of an introduction to who we both are and what we bring to the table. So let's touch on testing as a service. So it's a term that's becoming more prevalent in the industry now from test consultancies and from SIs. Okay. And as we said earlier, it's not just Oracle, maybe non-Oracle as well. We're talking about Xstore tonight, of course, but we also cover functional and non-functional types of testing as well. So if you have an e-commerce site, of course, with something like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, OLR Retail can also offer performance testing services, for example. And as I said earlier, we also have kind of equivalent regression testing services in the Oracle merchandising space as well. But we're going to talk about Xstore tonight. So we like to work with a high level of automation. So on our deliveries, it's typical that we'll be targeting kind of 70+% upwards in terms of ratios of testing to be automated. Okay. What that then allows you to achieve is that the time you do spend manually testing, maybe with your users from the business, maybe you have some UAT testers, that time can be spent more productively doing what we call exploratory testing. So rather than having a team of 10 people come in from the business and spend a week or 2 weeks running those traditional kind of sales and returns type of Xstore transactions, you can have them genuinely explore the system as a user, looking at the edge cases, because that's always going to be where you find those bugs, right? Those nasty bugs. So with a higher level of automation, that allows you to use your real testers, your human testers more effectively. Okay. Now, a big part of the service comes with the concept of QuickStart Test Packs. And again, we offer these both for Xstore and merchandising. QuickStart Packs are a subset of end-to-end tests, in this instance for Xstore, that will cover your most critical Xstore functionality, for example, or in merchandising. They are effectively plug-and-play tests that are pre-written. They require a small amount of customer refactoring just for a specific install itself. But typically within 3 to 5 weeks, you will have a fully automated set of Xstore critical tests that can be immediately run. The outputs of the tests can be pushed to the real-time dashboard reports we'll show you a little bit later on. And you can start to integrate this automated testing within your CI/CD pipeline in a way that you've possibly never seen before. Okay, so it's a short time scale, big return on investment there. And at the heart of that is the test reporting that we talked about. All right, so this idea of a cloud reporting platform, everybody in your team can have access. As soon as a single test in a pack of tests has finished and it has a result, you'll see the output with a lot of diagnostic information as well in these real-time test reports, of course. And everything is backed by continuous support, maintenance, and improvement of these testing packs. So if you decide there's something you want to add, you just pick up the phone to your OLR retail test consultant, and it will be very, very simple and easy to get that test added to that pack in a short period of time to broaden and expand that coverage. Okay. So with a specific focus on Xstore now, we tend to think of functional testing for the most part. That's usually what most people want to establish their automation for to begin with. So in terms of versions and support and hardware, etc. So it's available from version 18 upwards, up to V24. I think V25 is either here now or just around the corner. We tend to think of these in terms of the views that we use to see the UI, the application. So those earlier legacy versions, we're going to be talking about support for something we call classic view. And we're now moving, of course, towards the Electron UI, the kind of Electron application, and the newer, the Jet UI as well. Okay, so the solution we're talking about tonight will work in any of those situations. The approach with which we actually write and execute the tests may vary depending on the technology, but as far as you, the customer, are concerned, it's all under the hood. It's done on your behalf and either ran on your behalf or handed over to you with two flavors of service that we offer. It's 3 to 5 weeks, typical implementation time, as I mentioned earlier. And just to give you a flavor of what a critical pack might incorporate from an Xstore point of view, it's these core functions like the register, the open, close, the receipts, sales and returns, of course. When we are talking about things like sales and returns, they can be further parameterized. So we take a kind of an end-to-end sale. We can vary that with different payment methods, different products as part of the sale, different customers, different associates, etc., etc. And then we have some back office type functions like the employee security and maintenance, customer management, and then things like training mode and till options. So that's on the functional side of the Xstore testing. And then I'll pass over to David and he'll tell you a little bit about what the robot can do for you.
Yeah, thanks. So on the hardware side, we can cover then the interaction with the physical payment terminal. We do that by using the Paytest robot, where we can touch with a finger onto the touch screen or onto the traditional buttons, and we can insert, tap, or swipe cards. We can also do tap on device payments, so that's quite new and a good standard to test as well, and gives you then really all form factors. There are 2 different robots available. If you have a smaller robot, there's also a bigger one where you can test up to 4 terminals, and we have a multiplexer where you store different test cards. One multiplexer hosts 16 cards so that you can also switch between Amex, Master, Visa, or cards from Europe and the US so that you have a really good test coverage. And all this is then monitored with cameras through the software from James so that you can actually see what's happening on your testing.
Awesome. Thank you very much, David. Cheers. All right, so let's get straight to it then. Enough talking. Let's have a look at a demo then. So you've got a visual representation there of what we're talking about tonight. Okay, so there's your typical Oracle Xstore register with a vanilla install, V24. Classic view is what we're going to be looking at tonight. And there you see a representation of David, I think the T4 robot there, right?
It's a T1. Yeah, the image, sorry. Yeah, the image is a T4. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right, so yeah, we're going to look at I believe, a MasterCard sale transaction. We've got Pedro waiting in the wings to kick off the test for us. Before we do that, I'm going to show you a video of exactly what's going to be happening on the Xstore point of sale. And as part of that journey, of course, we're then handing over to the robot to take care of the card payment side of things. All right, so I'll just play this video. There we go. So what you're seeing is obviously pre-recorded, but this is an automated test driving the point of sale. All right, so we are connecting to the till remotely. We are signing in with a particular associate. This can all be data driven. Then we will be searching for a particular customer and adding them to that transaction. And then we are going to do an item lookup with a particular code. All right. And then we'll be setting this up for a credit debit card type of transaction. It's going to read in the amount 142 spot 26. And very shortly, it's going to hand over to the Paytest robot to actually undertake that card transaction. So that's kind of the end-to-end flow. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing this screen. All right, and we come to a live view now. In the background, Pedro is going to kick off that test. So the video recording we saw was of that particular till. I think there's a test potentially just
that was just
finishing up. So I'm going to ask Pedro to kick that test off again. So what you see in front of you is the live Xstore till, of course. Under that, David, I think is the multiplexer. Is that right?
Correct, yes. The multiplexer is underneath, and on the left you have the PaytesRobot T1, which is now just starting a new payment transaction. So you will see that the robot is now inserting the chip, and it will also enter the PIN afterwards.
Yeah, so I think we're at the start of the test again on the till, so we are logging in. I think that is probably the associate selection at this stage. Here's the customer lookup part. So a T1 robot there is holding the 1 pin pad, and the T4 holds up to 4, David, that's right?
Yeah, that's correct. Or, James, there are pin pads which are massive nowadays, like the PAX E700 is one of those examples, just too big to fit on a T1. So we developed the T4 afterwards,
Excellent.
Just to highlight, if anyone has questions, there's a Q&A section which we are monitoring. So if you want to have something answered, drop that in there and we take care of that afterwards.
Absolutely. So here we go. We're about to hand over to the robot for the actual transaction itself. Here we go. So I believe this is going to be a MasterCard sale. So all of the code to drive the robot is pre-written and comes as part of the QuickStart regression pack as well. So as part of doing this integration with PaytesLabs, these are modules of code effectively that come within the automation test pack, and we just configure, plug and play, and you're up and running as you see here. You will end up with quite a pile of receipts from your receipt printer that you may have to clear periodically. But that's part of real testing. So there we go. But as David, you're going to point out, we do email receipts as well, right? So
yeah, it would be a bit more sustainable than printing everything. Also easier to parse afterwards and validate. But some customers require it printed,
there
so
you
it's
go.
still happening.
Absolutely. So there we go. That's an end-to-end test. So just to recap, we are driving the point of sale till with automated testing software. So that can be done remotely. All right. So we actually connect to the till remotely. You can either run the automation software outside the network, outside the VPN, or directly on the register itself. This is a typical kind of lab setup where obviously the robot is integrated with the multiplexer and the till on the same network, and the code to drive the card payment testing, as we say, is completely incorporated. All right, so I'm just going to come back to the slide just for a All right, we're going to talk a little bit about results. All right, so we said it's very important that we actually have some transparency of what's happening here. So there's a three-way relationship really here. We have the PaytesLab robot, we have the OLR retail Xstore experts and the testing consultants, and we have the Test Evolve framework as the underlying automation testing software. So we'll talk a little bit about the dashboards very quickly. As a customer, you would have your own tenant or your own domain by way of dashboard reports. If I go to a live version here, this is just what we were looking at right now. So we were running a transaction with a label of card transactions here. All right, so you can see that this test result has just come in 1 minute ago. So this is what we call a test run view. At the homepage level, you have project level information, if you like. So anything that's currently in flight, running real time, you'll see in that top bar there. Your latest runs, your latest 5 runs will be displayed here. We have the concept of release management as well, of course. But everything in Test Evolve Halo is on a click-through basis. So we drill down, we see a run history here. On the top left, you have your kind of core run information. This was a very short test, just a couple of tests in here as a Visa sale and a MasterCard sale. What you might end up with as you kind of increase your test coverage and you have different types of testing as part of a project, maybe you've got some e-commerce testing, some Xstore testing, some merchandise testing. You might start to combine the output of all of these in a centralized view of all of your automated test output. And we click into a view like this, obviously substantially more data here in this particular project. You get your run trend history. And it's real time in the sense that when a test fails, which inevitably some will do, the failures float straight to the top here. All right. So we are advocating this idea of go and look at the failures first. Green tests, passing tests are wonderful, but actually where we need to spend our time analyzing is things that are failing. All right. So as you drill down another level, you will have incorporated screenshots. We will have insights data as well, which will tell you a little bit about the history of a given test, its kind of success or failure rate over a period of time. If it's failing, is it failing for exactly the same reason as it was failing last time? All right, and you do have screenshots here. I think let's just see if we have a failure from earlier on. In fact, just going back to home there, I think Pedro's kicked off a test there as well. So that's happening in real time right now. But where you do have these failures, we have the screenshots. I think I looked at this earlier, but this is probably a screen. Oh, no, there we go. We have a failure screenshot of where it was on the till at the time the test failed. Okay. So we work with the idea of these BDD scenarios. Okay. So tests are written in a very, very descriptive manner. Okay. Using kind of natural language. So you can see here, complete a transaction with a MasterCard. So given a regular priced item transaction is ready for payment, the given step is always describing your starting circumstance for that particular test. When a MasterCard payment is processed, so that will always be a tangible set of user actions to progress the state of the test, if you like. And you'll then have a then step, and then the sale is completed successfully. So tests are written in a very easy to understand language. In this case, it failed on the second step, so it didn't get to the third step of trying to make that assertion, but we did get a nice screenshot there telling us where the issue was. All right, so that's just briefly a little bit about results dashboards that are a core part of the process. So I'm mindful of time. We've got kind of 6-7 minutes left before we get to Q&A. I'll just wrap up with a bit of an overview on benefits, really. So it's very typical with Xstore that a single cycle of testing it could be largely still manually driven to start with. For many customers, we see that. It's not uncommon to bring in people from the business at great expense and sometimes inconvenience. A single cycle of testing could take 1 to 2 weeks. Because it's entirely manual in nature, it won't be especially repeatable. All right, so some of these benefits then appear reasonably obvious. Okay, so with the idea that you can run your Xstore tests, or a large percentage of them, 70, 75, 80% of them, in an automated fashion, clearly the cost effectiveness is there to see. Alongside that is the efficiency in the overall testing process. So rather than going from one cycle every 10 days, you could be doing 2 to 3 cycles per day if you really wanted to, depending on the frequency of releases to your test environment. And ultimately, with greater automation coverage comes much greater confidence when it comes to deciding to push something to production or not. And as we said earlier, a much greater use of your real world testers, your human beings, to perform a better job themselves by exploring the application, going off the beaten path, looking at the edge cases, which is always going to be how you find the worst bugs. And if you come to an SI like OLR Retail to provide this service for you, you're getting that 25-year history and pedigree, expertise with Oracle Xstore, coupled with the fantastic product that is the PayTest robot from David and his team, to have that joined up end-to-end point of sale with card payment testing solution, which no one out there is doing right now. So very flexible and will allow you to drive your Xstore testing significantly forward, we think. Yulia, let's pause there, and I'll stop sharing. I think we're going back to a live view of the robot, and I guess let's pick up on any Q&As that have come in.
We do have 2 questions. Well, I think altogether 4, but so one person's asking, how can I implement my barcode scanner? And slightly different question, can you automate the tests so they run overnight?
So I'll answer the barcode scanner part, James.
Yeah, please do, and I'll take the second.
Yeah. So we do have a special hardware piece which we call PayTest barcode, where you can put your barcode scanner on it, and you have an e-ink display where you can display changing barcodes. Then you have the trigger, which is being pulled, and you just scan the barcode, and whenever you want to have a new item, you change it from the software itself. So that's how you can then use your barcode and actually scan items if that's a requirement for you. Works with barcodes and QR codes.
Fantastic. Thank you, David. And I think the second question was around kind of scheduling tests and running overnight, etc. So absolutely. So tests written with Test Evolve incorporating the integration with the robot. This is still a coded automation framework. So typically you would check that code into a source code repository. And we then have CI/CD pipelines using something like Jenkins or maybe GitHub Actions or Bamboo or Azure or any of those kinds of services. And jobs can be established that will then pull down the latest version of that code of those tests, target a particular environment, and then run those tests. And then as that's happening, as you've seen with the dashboards, it will output the results to the dashboards in real time. So wherever you are in the world, if someone's up in the US, but you're not up in Europe, someone could be looking at those results, or you come in the next day into the office and see the output from that test run. But you can schedule those as often as you like in varying permutations as well. So there's no limitations on how flexible you can set up these overnight runs or during the day runs.
So hopefully that answers the question. And the last two questions I have is, can you handle contactless and magstripe payments? And can you handle gift card testing as well? I guess that's for David.
I think so.
Thanks, Julia. Yeah. So the multiplexer is a dual interface solution. So you put your contact or contactless card in there, and then we read the signal from one slot and put it onto the probe. For the magstripe, you would send track 1, 2, or 3 data directly from your test case to the probe. So you don't need to actually swipe the magstripe. The probe will be fixedly installed and the signal is electronically swiped through. Now, it depends on what your gift cards are. If they are magstripe gift cards, then you would use the magstripe option. If they're chip or contactless, then they go into the multiplexer. And if it would be a QR code or a barcode, then you would use the QR code scanner or the barcode scanner.
Sounds like a good answer to me. I'm not a retailer. I think we actually are very much on time. It's coming up to 4:30 in London PM time. I would like to thank everyone who has attended and gave us your time. I hope you found the session very useful. Thank you so much.